Forests hide what satellites miss. Lakes carve lines no column can cross. 1,300 kilometers, one neighbor. Decades of neutrality, shattered in months. Finland anchors Europe's northern frontier. The reasons reach back to 1939. A border of nearly 1,300 kilometers runs through the heart of the northern forest. This is not a line on a map, but a living barrier, dense taiga, endless stands of pine and spruce, and a labyrinth of water. Finland is home to around 188,000 lakes, their shorelines twisting between glacial ridges and drumlin fields, breaking the land into a mosaic of islands and peninsulas. In winter, snow buries the ground for months. Roads turn to narrow, icy tracks. Frozen lakes become both highways and hazards. The border itself is sparsely populated, marked more by timber and stone than by towns or fences. For any army, this terrain is a puzzle. Soft soils swallow heavy vehicles, wetlands, and bogs slow columns to a crawl, and the thick canopy hides movement from the sky. Each kilometer is shaped by the last ice age, moraines, eskers, and low hills that block sightlines and channel advances into narrow corridors. Here, geography is not just scenery. It is the first and oldest line of defense, shaping every plan, every doctrine, and every calculation of risk. On November 30th, 1939, Soviet artillery opened fire at Manila, igniting the Winter War. The Red Army rolled into Finland, columns stretched along icy forest roads, tanks and trucks locked to narrow tracks. Marshal Mannerheim recognized the terrain as his ally. Finnish ski troops moved unseen, cutting Soviet supply lines and isolating units. The Motti tactic, named after a pile of chopped wood, broke massive Soviet formations into smaller surrounded pockets. At Suomussalmi and the Raate Road, Colonel Silas Vuo's men destroyed 2 Soviet divisions, capturing vast stores of equipment. Captain Jutalainen described dawn ambushes and silent columns lost in snow. Soviet tanks froze, radios failed, and men suffered in minus 40 degrees. In 1944, at Tali-Ihantala, Finnish artillery and anti-tank teams used these same principles to stop the largest Soviet assault in Nordic history. Each battle taught that survival meant mastering the woods and snow, forging a doctrine of resilience and caution that would echo for decades. In 1948, Finland signed the Treaty of Friendship, Cooperation, and Mutual Assistance with the Soviet Union. The agreement committed Finland to resist any armed attack by Germany or its allies through Finnish territory, and to consult Moscow if such a threat arose. Yet, it also guaranteed Finland's right to manage its own internal affairs and maintain an independent military. President Juho Kusti Paasikivi saw this as a necessary compromise, a legal shield that preserved sovereignty in the shadow of a superpower. His successor, Urho Kekkonen, expanded this approach into a full doctrine. The Paasikivi-Kekkonen line steered Finland along a narrow path: open trade and cultural exchange with the West, careful diplomacy with the East, and a strict policy of non-alignment. Helsinki became a trusted host for East-West dialogue, most notably in 1975, when world leaders gathered for the Conference on Security and Cooperation in Europe. The Helsinki Accords, signed that summer, confirmed Finland's reputation as a neutral ground. Through these legal frameworks and diplomatic choices, Finland managed to avoid occupation or disarmament, quietly maintaining a credible defense while navigating the pressures of the Cold War. Conscription remains the backbone of Finland's defense. Each year, thousands of young men and women enter basic training, most for 6 to 12 months, and some volunteering for longer service. After their initial term, they join a national reserve that can mobilize up to 300,000 troops within days. Refresher exercises and local drills keep skills sharp, blending civilian life with a readiness that is never far from mind. The emphasis on territorial defense runs deep. Infantry learn to move through forests in small groups. Anti-armor teams practice ambushes along narrow tracks, and artillery units train to relocate quickly across frozen ground. Finland's terrain shapes every operational plan. Thick forests and a dense canopy limit what satellites and drones can see. Studies show that snow and tree cover can degrade radar and infrared sensors by up to 40%. Heavy vehicles struggle on soft soils and icy roads, forcing a reliance on lighter mobile units and pre-positioned supply caches. Logistics must account for lakes that freeze and thaw, bridges that can only bear so much weight, and roads that vanish under winter snow. Even with modern technology, movement is slow, supply is difficult, and concealment is never guaranteed. To offset these limits, Finland has turned to Nordic defense cooperation. Since 2009, Nordefco has brought Finnish, Swedish, Norwegian, and Danish forces together for joint training, procurement, and intelligence sharing. Exercises in Lapland and along the Baltic coast rehearse rapid mobilization, cross-border logistics, and combined command structures. Yet the forested frontier still imposes hard constraints. No alliance can change the fact that in Finland, the land itself decides what is possible. Finland's entry into NATO in 2023 redrew the map of northern security in a single stroke. The alliance's integrated air and missile defense network now extends from the Baltic to the Arctic, with Finnish bases at Rovaniemi and Kuusamo plugged into NATO's rapid alert system. Command realignment brought Finnish and NATO staff together at the new headquarters in Rovaniemi, coordinating joint exercises and response plans that reach from the Gulf of Finland to Lapland. For the first time, Alliance air policing covers the entire 1,300-kilometer border, and contingency plans for reinforcement are updated to reflect the realities of deep forest, frozen lakes, and limited roads. The calculus of deterrence has changed. Any threat along the frontier now triggers an alliance-wide response, backed by shared intelligence and pre-positioned forces. Finland's long-held doctrine of territorial defense is no longer a national affair. It is embedded in the collective security architecture of Europe's northern flank. Permanent battle groups signal the anchor path. A spike in border incidents points to rising tension. Creation of a joint Nordic force marks deeper integration. Finland's forests and border remain Europe's quiet test. As alliances shift, geography still dictates strategy, and vigilance is never optional. For more structured geopolitical analysis, consider subscribing.